Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by our Patreon supporters and CoolStuffInc.com. You can find cool stuff in stock every day, and our co-sponsor CardHoarder.com, offering the best inventory prices and delivery of cards for Magic Online. I am Evan Rowan, and we get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, Aaron Campbell.
Bienvenidos.
Ruben Bressler.
Hi everybody, how you doing?
Whew, we are here. We had our first Mics and Magic last night.
That's right.
We'll be able to put that VOD online here on YouTube in just a little bit. Basically decided that it's easier to give you guys the start to finish. It's not necessarily a Patreon exclusive thing that way, but at the same time, it's so much content, it's so long, and I was having problems exporting it, so like I think that's the best.
It was a 3-hour show, and we only had about 15 minutes of spillover on either side total, so...
Right. So
it was a lot of fun. Like Evan does voices, you know, we played well together. I spent most of my day thinking about it today, just like thinking about what I would want to do with the character. I was Googling a lot of what my spells did on the character sheet. I can't wait. I had fun.
I'm very pleased to hear that because I didn't know if you all would like it. So
yeah.
I loved it. I thought it was great.
It's nice hanging out with friends regardless, but you know, when you play stupid storytelling games, you know, it's not for everybody. So so I'm glad you all liked it, and I'm excited for the folks to catch the VOD in the podcast.
Absolutely. And the podcast will also go up tonight. I have that ready to go. That said, also note we all get started with our trumpet blast. You can get one if you support us at our highest level on Patreon. We don't have one this week, but if we did, that's where it would go. Note we have a few special notes here. We raid at the end of the show now. We're going to get that community going. Ruben, you know, needs to go find who we want to raid. That'd be fun.
So let us know who you're interested in. We're probably gonna. I'd like us to give preference to maybe like a smaller streamer. So let's try not to give. Like, I love Caleb Durward seriously, but he doesn't really need our streamers. He's already got like 2,000. So give us somebody at like the lower mid-end side of things that we think could use the views.
Also, wow, thank you, Chessie, has 10 subs
gifted.
Goodness gracious.
Much.
Amazing.
You guys are great.
I don't think that Magic Mics is listed in the Magic channel. Oh, no, there it is. I got it. Never mind. I'm a liar.
I was going to say, I fixed that, right? Okay, we're good.
We're good to go.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
Do note we also, so the Kickstarter thing is I'm waiting to get the matchbooks at this point. I'd also note that on our Patreon, we note that we send out tokens and stuff. This is when we do that. When I do a Kickstarter send, I also send the stuff that we've promised at each of those different levels. So that's why sometimes people will email me and like, Evan, why'd you send me like this? And I'm like, you're at the whatever level, right? And they're like, oh, right. So that's where that stuff comes into play, just so you know. And the Pauper Premier League is going to keep rolling tomorrow. I'm not a part of it this week. The Pauper Premier League, the Pauper. The Big Pauper energy. Excellent. That's going to be here tomorrow. But we are doing a $50 gift certificate to CoolStuffInc.com. ! Raffle gets you in on that. A subscriber gets 2 entries. So if you want to do that, that's the thing. All right. Not the most comfortable of shows, I'll be honest, for this week. I was expecting to talk about very different things, and I'm not actually going to talk very much about one specific thing. But I have to mention it in terms of I felt like when I made this show, I want it to be to catch up on the Magic news and to know what in the hell's going on. All I'm going to say is something bad happened with Conley Woods. If you would like to figure out what happened and why and what's going on right now, you are free to Google your little head off.
Yeah.
And you'll find lots. I just don't want to talk about it. It's not going to do any good. It's fine. It's here.
Yep.
You want to go see it? Check it out. Okay, fine, great. Our actual first pick for this week is Aaron Barich.
Oh, God.
Was the winner of the Open Series event. And as I understand it, on the top 8 winning in, or the winning in for top 8, she had a gigantic advantage, was going to win that game almost no matter what happens, but Experimental Frenzy was out on the board, and Light at the Stage was in hand, and she cast not one but 2 of them as she was kind of rolling along. It was more or less immediately addressed on site. The head judge came in and took a look, and they talked about it, and the big barometer of this, is this cheating, was intent. Was the idea that Aaron wouldn't have won any other way, was the idea that Aaron was trying to trick her opponent and was aware of it. And at the end of the day, whether you saw the board state or saw what was available, that game was pretty clearly in her hands to do what she would like. So there was that, and then of course here comes the cancel cannon, and Aaron Barich is the worst person ever, and cheater, which was ridiculous.
Well, there were also people that were using this as an excuse to pick on her gender and her identity, and so you can critique somebody without having to put that into play. You know, you don't have to bring somebody's size into play. You don't have to bring somebody's appearance into play. You can keep it to the facts if you want to, and so. For a while there, it seems like people were leaving that out of the equation, but then once people latched onto it, it was relentless.
It was crazy. And so I would like to bring up a note of, you remember that guy in the MPL, Yuya Watanabe, who used to be one of the most lauded and celebrated players of all time? That boy got caught dead to rights, okay? You got excited and ran off the light up the stages with the Experimenter Frenzy, and then you changed your sleeves, you marked them with fingernail marks, and you creased them the way you want to, and you turned the deck so you could see exactly what was going on. That's a problem. That was the cheating. That's premeditated.
She acknowledged it. I think within minutes of the game, she went on Twitter and was like, yeah, I absolutely could have, handled these things better. And so the fact that she admitted it right off the bat, there was no spin, there was no deflection. It was, yep, I did it and I'll be better. And that's what we want from people. We want you acknowledging that and just saying you'll do better. That's enough for me.
Right. And the head judge, I believe, actually did jump into the Reddit thread before it was over, saying what we just explained, which was that, there is an intent here, and the intent was not more or less there and or sufficient enough to say that it was cheating and DQ and blah blah blah. Again, she immediately acknowledged the error, and obviously congratulations for winning the event, which was great. But mistakes happen, and if you're going to play in front of thousands of people playing anything, Magic or anything else, I mean, putt for God's sake, there's going to be a pressure on that situation that was not there before the people all shut up. You're being commentated about, someone's talking about exactly every play you do and why. That is a nerve-wracking situation, and not to mention you're playing for the winning in and top 8 of this event, obviously for big prizes. So much pressure goes into that. And again, when you premeditate and you mess with sleeves versus, oh my God, I just kind of kept rolling because I was excited, these are totally different situations.
Yeah, I agree.
Which is the thing. That said, let's move on here to Gather the Townsfolk. This weekend, we have one of what should be the most exciting things that happens in Magic every year. And B, they're not streaming any of it. So there is going to be multiple panels at San Diego Comic-Con. There was an article they posted and said, hey, there's a Hasbro booth, number 3213. If you happen to be down there, go check it out. Obviously, they're releasing those exclusive God Eternals, the new 2019 package, which is super sweet. Definitely should get that if you're there and you're able to.
So I'm here in San Diego at San Diego Comic-Con at one of our fabulous fans' houses, actually. Do I have to go? So I don't have a badge to get into Comic-Con.
Right. So I think you would need one in order to get there.
But all of the Magic events are off-site, right? Like they're in somewhere else.
They're in different rooms, right? They're in different rooms. I don't know if you can get I don't know if you can get in the convention center without a badge. That's a question. But Saturday, July. I can
definitely get into the attached hotel. I can definitely get into the Marriott, which is where all the Magic stuff happens. Where, last year they had the SDCC artist signings, for example. And I don't know where you would pick up the box from. Is there like a Hasbro booth in the convention itself?
Yes, that was the number I rattled off.
In that case, I can't get it.
And that's fine. But ultimately, on Saturday night at 6:30 p.m., 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. Pacific, so that's 9:30 to 10:30 p.m. Eastern, Mark Rosewater is going to have... They literally describe it as, this is the big one.
Oh, boy.
You're not watching it. Deal with it. Wizards, let's just go back here for a second, okay? This is a multi-million dollar company. They make lots of money. We are clearly aware of how much money they're making. In fact, Arena is making so much money, Hasbro keeps bringing it up during investment calls, saying that Arena by itself can add almost $1 to the stock's value. For each stock of Hasbro stock, that is an incredible amount of money, an incredible amount of value. So if that's going to be this flagship cash cow, and this is going to be the next big release on said cash cow, wouldn't you want us to see this? Is this really the marketing opportunity that you're going to blow? We're going to wait for an article to show up on Saturday night at midnight? Like, what?
Right. Yeah, unfortunately, streaming from Comic-Con is a nightmare.
I bet it is.
Particularly if you're streaming from a smaller room. It's pretty impossible for this to get streamed. And so that begs the question, why are they announcing it here anyway?
Yeah.
They could do something like have an official Periscope of the event, which is, sort of trying to fix it with duct tape and WD-40, but, it's what you got to do to get the word out there, right? Like live stream it to your Instagrams.
No, it's actually interesting. Last Resistance here notes in the chat that Marvel doesn't stream their panel.
Right.
But I'd also feel like Marvel isn't making necessarily a product that you're going to use in the way that you use Magic. It's a bit different.
So the way that Marvel and Game of Thrones or any of the big TV show announcements use their panels is oftentimes they will be exclusive content for just like question and answer sessions that might get recorded and released on YouTube later. And then they'll have exclusive trailers that they preview stuff or, bonus content that isn't going to be released to the public for a little while. That's not the case with Magic. We are getting that information and it's being released publicly everywhere immediately, right? So Wizards had experimented with this style, the Marvel style of releasing information. I believe it has Con, where they were like, hey, this is for everybody in the room for a week, and then we'll announce it to everybody else later. And that didn't work because people took photos and tweeted about it, and it got out. Right. The security for videotaping at the DC screenings is a lot heavier. So it's not a one-to-one comparison. It's just confusing. It is definitely a confusing thing to do based on how they typically release information. Right. But the information is going to get out sooner rather than later anyway.
You remember when they literally hired Wesley from Star Trek to introduce the fall set, and they did the whole thing where they took over PAX with the Eldrazi and stuff and now it's in a room in San Diego Comic-Con somewhere, and it's not being streamed. We hope you make it.
Don't.
It was the announcement of the set. It's the announcement of the set.
This is not a step down.
Does anyone have the red zone layout ready?
Yeah.
I don't think this is a step down in terms of quality. It's not a step. Yeah, it's Comic-Con. San Diego Comic-Con is the show, capital T, capital S. So whether or not you're streaming, it's still a big venue. My issue is that I think it's the wrong venue. I don't think that the size is the issue. I think that the delivery method is the issue.
I think everything matters about everything. And that, yes, it's a great time, but if you couldn't get a streaming room or if you couldn't get a streaming setup, and you literally can't just say, we're going to have people trying to stream from Periscope or whatever, what is happening here? We are Magic players. We are desperate for every crumb of information we can get, very similar to other fandoms. But at the same time, everything he's going to talk about is going to be some grainy, terrible photo that's going to be on Twitter and or Facebook of some information we might see the whole of, and hope the article goes up soon.
My hope is that they have a video and an article ready to go live as soon as the panel ends.
That is as it has been explained, they do have an article detailing all the info as they mentioned in the article. So
great.
And that's great, but you know what? I like to watch Mark get excited about things, I feel like it's the same people like to watch me get excited about things too, because that's fun, And I want to share in his excitement for this big fall set that they've been working on for a year and a half or whatever. And it just feels like a weird ho-hum considering they have put so much effort into announcing sets and blocks in the past.
I agree that it is a weird ho-hum way to announce it. I'm a little surprised that they announced it at Comic-Con. The scale of it being at it's not like they're in Hall H. It's not like we're announcing the next Spider-Man, but it's still a pretty big venue. I don't think it's the size. I just think it's the wrong venue. I don't care how many people are at the Consumer Electronics Expo. I don't want Magic to announce their next set there. Right? So it might not make sense for this venue.
That's what it feels like. All right, so let's move on here to the Mythic Championship 4 Survival Guide. As it turns out, not this weekend, but next weekend is going to be the Mythic Championship 4. This is the Barcelona event. This is the event that had a lot of controversy in that it was difficult to get to, which we'll also cover later. This is in Barcelona, and this is a paper modern event. which is interesting in and of itself.
Cool.
Also,
I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, sweet. Well, one of the things they've actually noted is that they are allowing co-streaming, which is following Twitch's content sharing guidelines. You can co-stream the championship using OBS or XSplit, and allows anyone on Twitch to be able to cover the event in their own voice and their community, which I actually think is really sweet. And it's something that they've embraced, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, I was thinking about bringing up the idea of us streaming, and then I realized that I would just hate it. I just don't want to do it. Like us talking during the Mythic Championship, I feel like it would be cool for us to sit there and do, but I would get tired and need a nap because I'm an old man. But I know that there's a lot of streamers out there that love doing this kind of stuff. I know that Gabby Sparks did it for the last Mythic Championship, I think.
Yeah, I think this is a great way to kind of get your feet wet if you are somebody that's looking to get into the coverage game. I know one of the ways that Emma used to practice for coverage was that she would go back and watch replays of coverage.
Absolutely.
And then she would bring a friend on and they would cover those things together. And I wouldn't be surprised if she used those clips of those streams in her reel, in her resume when she applied for her now coverage gig with Magic and with Star City. And so that's a great way to get some practice with that if that's a skill that you're trying to hone. It's also a great way to kind of, cultivate your community. Twitch chat, the main Twitch chat for Magic is known to be a little heinous sometimes, especially when it's that large or if the mods aren't there, the mods are sleeping. And so if you would rather not deal with that, if you would rather watch it with your people, with your community, you can do that. I think it's a great option, especially if you if the coverage is in a language that you don't speak, you see a lot more foreign streams out there where they do the coverage in their own language as well. So it opens up a lot of doors for people. I think it's good.
Yeah, that's a good thing. And this is one of those examples of, when an event is going to be streamed, or if people are like, hey, I want to get into the commentating game, this is the exact type of thing you want to show as like your demo reel.
Exactly.
Hey, go check out how I did the commentary for this with my buddy so-and-so or whatever. That's a way that you can, kind of keep the sword sharp or whatever.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. And I used to love commentating Magic. I think the game has passed me by at this point. So I'm excited to see the folks that really are passionate about the commentary game and put their efforts out there, particularly in this kind of official capacity.
Yeah, you can even do a different spin on it. I've joked with my girlfriends about doing like a fashion police episode.
Yeah.
You could kind of dub over it things that have nothing to do with it, maybe like a mystery science theater thing, as long as you're keeping it classy.
As long as we're keeping it,
right. I mean, as long as you're not being like ruthless or anything, but you can sort of do like a commentary track or a gag reel, or you can, make things funny. You don't have to do commentary as it was, you don't have to.
Okay, I might be back on board then if we can do like a Magic Mike'sifying of the Mythic Championship.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
The other thing I really like about this particular Mythic Championship is it is in Barcelona, meaning it's a home game for the current world champion, which you don't see a ton. Barcelona is is Javier Dominguez's backyard, and so. So that's going to be interesting.
Well, that reminds me of my Spanish teacher, Mrs. Lana. She married a Spanish man, and I can't forget the list of spent the ¿Qué desea usted? Like, girl.
Well, look, if you're able to go to Gen Con, I'm going to be going to Gen Con. Ruben's also attending Gen Con. Aaron officially ducked out of Gen Con.
I just don't want it bad enough. You guys know when somebody asks you.
It's totally cool.
It's fine.
I'm explaining.
No hard feelings.
There is no, as John Mulaney says, there is no high quite like canceling plans. Nothing makes me feel better than saying, "Oh, sorry, I can't make it."
I just didn't want it bad enough. You know how when your friend asks you if you want to go out to eat, they're like, "Are you hungry?" And you're like, "I could eat. Like, I could go to Gen Con, but I'm not like hungry for Gen Con."
Well, there are definitely some awesome stuff. There's awesome stuff at Gen Con. Things
That's
are
right.
debuting there, games and stuff.
I will be on a panel Thursday at 3 p.m. That is a discussion panel with myself, Adam Coble, Skinny Ghost, the co-dungeon masters of the D4 podcast. I might be forgetting somebody on that panel, but the four of us will be discussing what happens when your party goes off the rails. What happens when your players head into uncharted, unnoted, unplanned for territory? What do you do? And so that will be the panel, and I have information on that on my Twitter. And also I'll be DMing and GMing Dungeons and Dragons and Demon Hunters, a comedy of terrors, all weekend. And you'll be able to check my schedule on my Twitter as we get
your
closer.
business cards. You're going to get your networking.
I have my business cards. That's right.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, look, Wizards is really going all out this time. Last year, they basically started paying attention to Gen Con again because it was the 25th anniversary. Thanks.
Yay.
Considering, they debuted there. But this time, they have some events for a Legacy Cube. They're going to have some qualifier events to allow you to get into a Legacy Cube Rochester draft on Sunday, August 5th.
Man.
And the Legacy Cube, as it's been played on Magic Online, has been there for many years, and it's been curated even to this very day. They just did some updates to it, so you can play it online. But if you're there and you win your qualifier and you're able to make it to that final table, they're playing with a real Legacy Cube, and you keep the cards. And that's just the start.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Because the winner is going to get a box of Legends, the third Magic expansion ever, released in 1994. I'm going to go ahead and give a super quick Google here. The Legends box that is currently available on eBay is selling for $19,500.
Is that right?
Wow.
That's a lot.
And for what it's worth, if you were to be fortunate enough to win that box, for God's sakes, don't open it. Don't open the box. I just want to be really clear there. Please don't open the box. That'd be dumb. You want me to get on 19K if you open that thing. But this is absolutely terrific. Wizards is really buying in on Gen Con, and I love it. I think it's fantastic.
I'm excited that we're getting, we're getting our groove back. We're getting the partnership back together. Magic the Gathering and the Gen Con convention go together like peanut butter and jelly, and it should always be that way.
Absolutely. So they go on in this article, and I'll put it here in the chat if you want to take a look at it, about sort of what changes they're making to the Legacy Cube and why, and the change list and all that. But again, to be able to support Gen Con in this way is super awesome, and I hope it goes well. And good luck to all those competitors.
I actually haven't looked at the change list for the Legacy Cube, but I'm sure I'll be mad about something.
You will. Don't worry. Moving on.
Bizarre Trade Mage, get out of here.
Man, some anger, dude.
Sorry, I saw that one and I got unnecessarily angry. I apologize.
All right, so Hipsters of the Coast reported this past week that colored artifacts are Magic's future, says head designer Mark Rosewater. He basically said, we made some artifact blocks, and every time they broke things, and then we kept making them, and they kept breaking things, and then they made another one, and they broke stuff even more, and then he went, wait a second, we did one artifact focus set, and it didn't break anything, and that was Shards of Alara. Because Shards of Alara had colored artifacts, and those worked incredibly well, and were able to help define the color pie and what those artifacts could do.
This is incredibly timely. There were 6 copies of Mystic Forge. There were 6 Mystic Forge decks in the top 16 of the Vintage Challenge this past weekend.
Yikes.
I did a stream last Friday with my friend Zeus, and I believe we played 3 or 4 Mystic Forge decks. Mystic Forge is ridiculous. And, he's right. Every time you print a colorless artifact that you assume is going to be out of reach, when you pair it with Moxen and you pair it with a Lotus, or you pair it with Mishra's Workshop, bad things happen. Foundry Inspector is a playable card in Vintage in this year 2019, and so I think he's right. This could be a way to kind of curb that. If you add mana symbols, that might make it a little more difficult. And I'm anxious to see. what they do with the play space, and it's just neat looking. Like when you see a Citadel, or you see a Whip, or you see the Parhelion, or you see the Nylea's Bow. Like I think it's cool.
Yeah,
right.
I think that makes them more interesting for what it's worth. And this was true even back in Shards of Alara, where like Scourglass and stuff, it's like, oh, that's a really white artifact. That's really cool. And being able to see Bolas' Citadel do stuff, and even the new stuff with Blood-Soaked Altar and stuff like that, that's awesome. I think that's great. And if it doesn't break things, that's even better.
Yeah.
I'm totally okay with that.
But at least I like that they're certainly open to the feedback, because you had to wonder how long this was going to go on, because it just keeps happening where it's like, do you notice that? I'm glad to see that they seem to be aware of what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, I think somewhere in between Kaladesh and Emrakul exploding in Eldritch Moon, somewhere in that time period, things were like, wow, we just should not do this anymore. This is a bad idea.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that works out. Congratulations to Limited Resources We'll go ahead and link the tweet here. Marshall Sutcliffe notes they have reached their 500th episode. That is very impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, sorry.
Keep going. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say it's so easy to start a podcast. It's a lot more difficult to keep one going. And, I tend to get antsy around the 100 mark. So to be there for 500 episodes is a stellar feat. And I think it says something it says something about Marshall, that he's been able to evolve and keep innovating and keep it fresh. I think he does a really great job of keeping it relevant and keeping it important. He knows his lane, and he gave me some of the best advice I ever received as a podcaster when I was doing the deck tease. And I've applied a lot of those lessons to other shows, and he's great. He deserves all the accolades.
Absolutely. Yeah. Went through different co-hosts and things. I mean, it's not been the easiest ride. That can sink
a lot of shows right there. A lot of shows don't come back from that, and he's done it multiple times.
Yeah, it's tough out there for a podcast, especially one that has changed hosts as often as limited resources. But Marshall has put together a hell of a program, and every time you hit the half millennium mark, it is worth noting. I think that we've talked about anniversaries for the Mana Pool, for the A team, when anybody like Chewy or KYT or Marshall is able to reach this ridiculous number, it is worth noting. What number are we at, by the way, Evan?
I think we're in the 180s. We are very close to our 200th show.
Sure, 180 is a lot. And we've been going for 4 years. Limited Resources, of course, records on average more than we do, because we take week breaks.
That's to record longer episodes too. Like, you've seen those net reviews.
Yeah, true.
Roll out the scroll.
I mean, we're going to have Mikes and Magic on our podcast feed. That's a 3-hour endeavor, y'all.
That's true, yeah. And some of those limited resources are not limited at all in terms of their length. And so, anyway, kudos to Marshall. Well done. And,
it's 500 more.
Exactly. It's a cornerstone of the podcasting community that I don't see ending anytime soon.
Very nice. All right, so the Mythic Championship 4 is almost here, and Wizards has planned something special. MPL member and reigning world champion Javier Dominguez is going to be hosting an AMA to answer your burning questions on Magic.
That was today.
Well, they gave you a gift today. Somebody did not look at the date before he started reading that thing. So,
I love that the number one question is, will the MPL be around next year? And no answers.
Wow.
Dinkies.
Oh, that is the number one question, and no one has answered it. To briefly go there, Wizards.
Oh boy.
There was I think it was the First Strike podcast, which is with like KYT, and I think they had Shaheen on this week. I was watching some of that earlier, where Shaheen, who has been on, for what it's worth, been very, very silent over the years over various sort of controversies and bad decisions and whatever. For Shaheen, one of the things he mentioned was like the Silver Showcase, was bad, but it wasn't the end of the world. Like, you know what I mean? What would we kill for to have a Silver Showcase right now? If that's the worst of our problems with Magic OP, is they did something stupid like that. What a wonderful world we would live in. And and it's something that we've talked about, and I've mentioned as well. There's this slow, uncomfortable dream is dying. The dream of having
the attendance at events this past weekend was abysmal. I think the Star City Open failed to crack 400. Was it?
Oh yeah, I think it was only 350 there, and there was like 650 at the Grand Prix in Detroit.
The lights went out in Detroit for a brief period.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah,
incredible. Really there was the one MPL guy who was like, I'm the only one here, and he was in Poland. It was like, oh Lord. And
and we were talking about it a little bit during the pre-show, and again, I think there's some amount of, it's very. I think the events have gotten very expensive. I think between what Wizards has been doing and Channel Fireball has been doing, both of their efforts in various ways have done things to say, you know what, I'm not gonna, I'm just gonna skip this one. I'm just gonna stay home and not make the plans or not make the travel stuff. The MPL guys just not going to these events because they don't really mean much. They'd be better to stay at home and stream, stay at home and practice, stay at home and take that $50K salary because they're not getting any bonuses as a result of to showing up at these events.
Right.
And not to mention, we know it just got so sad because Shaheen is often the voice for the middle of the road gold, silver pro. The guy who can definitely good enough, definitely super good at Magic, can definitely stay on the train, but isn't necessarily always spike the big giant events. But he's a damn good Magic player, and he should be on that train. And the train is just not. The train just left the station and never came back.
Yeah. It's a lot more like trying to stay on the poker circuit now than it is trying to stay on what used to be the Magic circuit. Gone are the days where you could amass points from having a bunch of top 32s and 64s. Rookie of the Year Matthias Hunt would not be able to stay on this train any longer, for example. You need to. This is a spike-driven, and not the spike player archetype. The spike, as in you need to win events. You need to top eight events. Your good results, your 11 and 5s, aren't going to cut it anymore, and that's really a tough sell when the prizes just aren't there to begin with.
Yeah.
And so all of that combined and together is leading to this slow decline of GP popularity among other forces and other inputs. And it's unfortunate.
I do want to gush about GP Detroit for a second there, and I still call them GPs, so you can be mad about that.
But
GPs happen at the MFs,
right? So 4 of our most beloved listeners, who are friends at this point, they've transcended just being fans or listeners. They are friends at this point. Got together at Grand Prix Detroit. It was House of Shadow, A Little Aloof, Pharmacist Judge, and Martin Casa, and they took this amazing picture and posted it in our Discord, and they all looked amazing and happy. And I hear that they played Commander and had fun, and it just made me feel so good inside that that they got to meet, and it was lovely. And they posted a picture of our playmat, so it was lovely to see, and I look forward to seeing more of that.
Yes, that was very, very nice. I think right now I'm just straight legitimately concerned on players number 33 to 100,000. Like, if you're not in the lauded, top of the mountain, how do you get there? What are you supposed to do? And bringing in a bunch of people.
Sorry, I didn't catch that one time.
Bringing in a bunch of people who ran Hearthstone's OP, and then Hearthstone OP basically just changed to Magic's OP, and then now Magic's OP is looking like what Hearthstone's OP used to be, which is, gosh, we sure do like these people. Maybe we should just give them thousands of dollars.
Yeah,
that didn't work well, and there's a long-term effect that Wizards is not respecting, and by the time they understand it and respect it, it's going to be a real challenge to get back to where you were and to have those dreams that people lived.
It's tricky though. I feel like the problem that got us into this was valid. The issue at play was that Wizards was having a difficult time keeping everybody happy, where every time they would make a change to the Players Club or something, you would have the silver members were happy, but the bronze players weren't. And then you had the Hall of Famers were happy, but then the gold weren't. And so it was this constant struggle of tug of war. And they were hoping to eliminate that by just saying, okay, if everybody thinks they're a pro and we can't please everybody, then let's narrow down the field and say, these are pros. We want to keep the pros happy. And by having one sort of style of pro, we will be able to do that, as opposed to constantly feeling like we're stepping on mines and pissing people off. So I think that was a valid problem. I think that was something they needed to address. I'm just not sure that I think they thought this was the answer by getting rid of that murkiness of what's a pro. But you lost, we talk a lot about the loyalty of people that, we talked about how they chose to invest in streamers as opposed to paper players. But those were the people that were showing up every day, that were putting their butts in seats. And I think you might have lost a lot of loyalty by making these changes. And we're seeing that with the attendance of, you wanted to cut down on the push and pull, and it's not working.
I want you to take a look at all of the random streamers that you decided to pay to stream Arena and put those resources there, and how many are just playing, whatever the hot newness is, like auto chess or whatever these days. They don't care. They're just going to move on. And when you don't cultivate that organized play and that idea that if I do well enough, or if I just perform well enough, because it's Magic and you're not going to win every game you play, you're not going to win every tournament no matter how damn good you are. When you don't reward that anymore, you destroy the impetus to strive,
So I guess I'll be the bad guy here. make your mama sad guy. I have a question. So, duh. So my question is, what is the impetus for Wizards? Like, so let's cut to the bottom of the page. We're trying to make as much money as possible.
Yes.
Right? Are we making as much money as possible with the old system?
Well,
like rewarding loyalty. Like, this is going to sound like I'm Jean Valjean, but like rewarding loyalty isn't a business plan.
I disagree.
Right?
What I would say is that they are getting short-term gains, and they're super happy with short-term gains. And boy, don't investors love short-term gains. They're just the best gains ever because they're big numbers, they're really impressive, and whatever. And then something's going to happen. And we're going to be back into a Battle for Zendikar, Eldritch Moon, whatever. And when it gets bad, that's when we're going to see the problems.
Yeah, when it gets cold in the winter and you're running low on food supplies, you really want that comfortable place to go back to, and those fans that have been there for 15 years. And if you are sacrificing them at the cost of, this Fortnite Pro and this Auto Night streamer, I totally get that.
It reminds me of this article I read about. I can't believe I'm bringing this up here. It reminds me of this article I read about Kylie Jenner, where like there was an article, I think it was Forbes, that was like, she's a self-made millionaire. She made $300 million. And it's like, do you think she's going to be here in 10 years? Do you think we're going to talk about her the way we talk about Chanel, Versace, Gucci? I lost every straight man in the chat. It's fine. But yeah, I mean, like you can have that sort of short-term, like you said, you can have it now, or you can have a legacy. You can have a long-term plan. And I'm just not sure that this is it.
And you're starting to see that burnout all over the internet, all over the pros when they talk about it, and we'll get to some of that later. Anyway, we got to keep moving on here. Rosewater from the wholesome memes.
Which Rosewater?
Mr. Mark Rosewater.
Mark Rosewater?
You want to tell us about a tweet that he made there, Rubes?
No, sure don't. You can go ahead.
Okay, fine.
I'm very exhausted just from that.
Jeez. All right. So from the wholesome feels, we have Mark Rosewater noting that en route to San Diego, he made a stop in L.A. for the Make-A-Wish Foundation with Jimmy Wong and Josh Lee Kwai. They note Evan, which, hey, that's a good name. It was a pleasure playing and meeting with you. And then today he actually had a really cute follow-up where he said he should have let Evan get a card from outside the game at least once because it's the Make-A-Wish Foundation, right? So it's the wish.
Yep. So I get it.
That was really
Don't make
cool.
me cry on the show again.
Both funny and well executed.
We will if we have to, Aaron. We'll pull it out.
Yeah, this is great. What a cool little thing to have pop up in the timeline. Wizards has always been good at this kind of stuff. And the people who are most visible in Wizards have always been good at this kind of stuff.
I wonder what his wish was, though. Like, was it just to play with the Command Zone guys, or like?
I'd say so. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the wish. The wish is play on the Command Zone with Mark Rosewater.
What would your wish be? Like, what would your magic-related wish be?
My magic-related wish. That's a good question.
Not to put you on the spot or anything, but what would you like?
No, that's a good question. Give me. I'll bring it up when I think of it because I bet I have one. I mean, for me, this is tough because I've already done a lot of the things I've wanted to do. Commentate a Pro Tour.
There you go. Oh, that's good.
That's a fun one.
I never actually got to do the sideline reporting at the Pro Tour thing that I thought that I was on track to do at some point in my career. That would be fun. Do like the post game interviews at a Pro Tour.
All right, so we're gonna move on here to some. There was an interesting new Lava Coil promo.
Ooh.
And I'm gonna try to bring this up on.
I'm on board for Lava Coil.
I'm all about that Lava Coil life.
No.
It's good.
You're not?
No, it exiles things, doesn't it?
Oh, that's right. It's red and it exiles things. There's nothing worse.
Now
this promo, by the way, is super dope.
Yeah, this promo is gorgeous. It's on the screen now. It's a Japanese only promo. I'm not exactly sure how to get it at this point. If the chat could help us out, I'd love to know. But it is a sweet promo that you can only get in that country, as far as I know.
Right, and this is featuring a character from the Duel Masters manga.
Oh wow!
I believe the Shobu character, Xiaobu. I don't know how Japanese works. I apologize for butchering that, but that is what's sort of lighting up in the text box there.
Very nice. All right, so we're going to move on here to our next story, which is, these days when you're playing Arena and you're wanting to craft a bunch of cards, Aaron, I know you have no idea what we're talking about.
What we're talking about, right, Aaron? When you're playing Arena and you want to craft a bunch of cards?
Aaron can play making cards. Aaron can't. No, absolutely not.
With your gold and your dust.
Ain't a card making bone in that body. All right.
No.
Your bricks.
You're gonna make cards like I'm a Keebler elf? Get out of here.
You need to go back into. I slaved over a hot Arena all day, cooking up these cards for you.
No, ma'am.
Oh my God. Well, look, all I know is we are very critical of Wizards of the Coast. And so when there's something they do right, I absolutely want to throw on those kudos. And they did this very right, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I saw this myself when I was crafting some decks that I was using for after M20 came out, which is when you craft cards that are going to rotate in the fall, it actually warns you and says, hey, this is going to rotate. Are you sure you want to make this? And I think that's great. That's just one of those really nice, small, but important customer service type things that I think Wizards did a good job on. So high five. Yeah. Keep that up.
I definitely especially for a free-to-play game, having player protection is huge. This is just a good policy change. It's an easy thing to implement, and it's just a great decision all around. Good job.
Absolutely. So if, unless I'm reading this incorrectly, or if you guys have more information than I do, on the Krypton Gaming fundraiser for Dan Hall, it appears they raised nearly $1,200.
Wow.
For him to go to Barcelona.
Awesome. Good. So this is a friendly local game store. Support your friendly local game store. Right. Coming together to help one of their own to send them to Barcelona. This is a storefront in Omaha, Nebraska. Nice. So if you happen to be in or near the area, definitely check out Krypton. That's just a fabulous thing to do.
Yeah.
Good guy FLGS. I'll take it.
Right.
All right. Let's move on here to Desperate Ravings. First up, through normal means as to how this stuff kind of leaks out from time to time. Often distributors will post information about products and weren't aware that they shouldn't be posting information about products.
Yeah.
As it
Is that how this one came out?
That's more or less how this one came out, and it appears that the page has been edited some sort, so I can't necessarily show you the page. So I'm going to go ahead and try to pull this up on Reddit, but the core idea essentially is that the Commander 2019 themes were leaked as a result of the product page. They say the Commander series returns with 4 brand new ready-to-play decks. Each deck has a returning keyword ability as its main theme. The 4 featured abilities are Populate, Flashback, Morph, and Madness.
Cool.
Now, one of the things from last year that was more or less controversial is that Wizards upped the MSRP to $40 per each deck. Now, note that Wizards has gotten rid of MSRP, but that doesn't mean they're going to charge any less or maybe even more for the product. But the question was, maybe they're going to pump the reprint equity into these decks because the value was seen as far lower last year than previous iterations. To which I would note, and someone on Twitter had pointed out to me, that between those 4 abilities, Populate, Flashback, Morph, and Madness, there is no card that is not named Snapcaster Mage that is worth more than $10 that has any of those mechanics on them. So
yeah, but there's also there's easy stuff to put in the other decks. For example, there's the Primal Vigor you could put in the Populate deck. Right. I think that card's $1 billion still. Mm-hmm. And other doubling season kind of effects you can put in the Populate deck.
Right.
I think that there are ways to juice those decks up. And there's plenty of, it's also, you're putting 100 cards in a $40 product, so you can get the average up pretty good. Mm-hmm. I think that it's not unreasonable. Well, first of all, I think it's pretty unlikely they put Snapcaster in the Flashback deck.
Oh, no, absolutely not. I would not.
You don't think so? You think they're reprinting Snapcaster in the Flashback deck?
No, what I'm saying is I agree with you. There's no way they're going to put that card in that deck.
I see. Yeah. There's no way. They probably make like a new Snapcaster that's red and only does sorceries and is at sorcery speed.
Right.
I'm all in for the flashback and the madness. I love madness. It makes me so sad that it didn't see more play in standard.
Madness is super cool. I also love Morph. I think that the way that they can divide the colors up, it'll probably be two color and 2 3-color decks, like how they divided Ixalan is going to be my guess. So yeah, I'm really interested to see what they do.
All right. So moving on here, Tim Aten and posted a take, a hot take.
Love Tim Aten.
Tim Aten's great, and you got to see him sort of flex the muscles there on Jeopardy, which was awesome.
At All Fairness is one of the all-time great Twitter handles.
It's very good. He notes here, there's so many random streamed events nowadays, I don't know which ones I'm supposed to care about. I've chosen to care about none of them. I wonder how common this is amongst potential viewers. At which point, a lot of the pros kind of jumped in and just like, yeah, I don't care neither. I don't care. Do you not care? I don't care. Do you care? Does anybody care? And then like it just kind of echo chambered its way onward and backward.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you solve this problem, man. Well, it's such a problem from so many different angles, right? Like, because the Pro Tour / Mythic Championship is so different than it used to be, because the Grand Prix / Magic Fest are so different than they used to be, people tried to fill those in with other events, not just the SCGs, but the Red Bull events and the various other sundry, Twitch rival kind of things. And they're all all those new events are sort of at random, not by any fault of the tournament organizers. It's just that they don't have a tournament series, and so the events are going to be kind of random. And because they are sort of peppered and polka dotted all over the calendar, it's tough to know which ones matter, which ones give out $500, which one gives out $25,000. It's tough to know which ones are give you clout, which ones are important overall. It's tough to know, and I totally get it from Tim's standpoint.
We almost have an overload.
For me personally, I just all right, how can I word this? I just don't find a lot of these new streamers to be terribly interesting. I am somebody that I need to root for a person. One of the reasons why I started the deck tease was I wanted to know more about the player than their sleeves or their deck boxes or whatever. I wanted to have a reason to root for you. Give me a reason to care about you. And if you've seen one streamer, you've seen them all. There's no Sam Black where he has the key and he loves aristocrats. There's no Reed Duke that is sort of like the gentle, pushes cars for old ladies and loves John. There's just no, when you go to the Twitch page, you see the same, you see the computer specs, you see something about positivity, but they're not letting me in. They're not giving me a reason to care for them. I know nothing about you. And so for me personally, if I don't have a reason to root for you, I just ain't gonna watch you. It's that simple.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's very difficult to, to sort of find what your lane may or may not be. And I think you see that sort of a lot of people sort of pop up and then a lot of people kind of fade away, and because they're just not sure how to execute.
Yeah, I mean, streaming is like one of the most intensive. It's so thankless for so long that to get to anywhere near.
Well, I'm referring to the bigger names. I'm not referring to the people that like the arena's Twitter is plugging where maybe they have 100 followers. I'm talking about the people that like it that way. The people that are giving you that distance. They're giving you that veneer. They're not trying to let you in. That's not interesting to me. And so that is, I'm sure you have a lot of followers and I'm sure you've built something and that's wonderful, but I just don't have a reason to care.
Yeah, I would be really interested to see if there was ever this isn't the best example, but what I mean is someone that puts on a motif, someone that puts on so there is someone like this. Melvin the Muppet.
Yes.
Is a Magic streamer that it's not a veneer, but they are a character.
Yes.
Right? So the example I was thinking in my head was Dr. Disrespect, which obviously there's nobody in the Magic community like that.
Thank God.
The example that I was trying to give was someone that does have a layer between, the Stephen Colbert style, Colbert Report style layer between reality and the stream. It's very rare. And yeah, even if you don't have that overt amount of separation, then yeah, it's tough to get invested.
All right. So from the "Why Are You Like This" file,
Good news.
Aaron, do you want to tell us a little bit about this next story? Because I think it's right up your alley.
Yeah, so recently the new Commander Committee or the Commander Council announced some bans to the Commander format. They banned Iona, Shield of Emeria, which I have had the pleasure of reanimating several times, just not in Commander, strangely enough. And they also banned Paradox Engine, which I still haven't had the heart to take out of my Locust God deck. But these changes happened. People felt very, very strongly about them, and apparently felt strongly enough to send poor Sheldon death threats. So Sheldon Menery posted a tweet that says, I can now upgrade my saying, I'm happy that people are so passionate about Commander that they're willing to call me names on the internet, to also include, and who also think death threats are appropriate. We kind of touched on this with the Aaron Barich thing. You can voice your criticism about the Commander and the Commander ban list without mentioning death threats. You can simply say, hey, I feel a way about this, and I think we should talk about this. I want you to know this. Why are we thinking it's okay to threaten people like this? Like, it's outrageous and is absolutely not okay.
Well, death threats are never okay, much less, let's get some perspective, right? Like, you're complaining about a format of a game
that you can essentially make your own rules on.
Right. Like, there are many layers to make this is definitely not a hill that you're wanting to die on, much less make a big issue of. Like, you can write an angry letter or complain on Twitter, or, even if you see Sheldon at an event, you might go up to him and be like, hey man, I'm not sure you're totally right about this issue. And then he'll be like, I'm eating my sandwich. Can you talk to me later? But at least that would be more realistic and more okay than sending a death threat to a person.
Yeah,
man, that's messed up, dude. We're playing Magic, y'all. And it's not even tournament Magic. Not saying you would ever justify anything, but for God's sakes, man, this is the kitchen table. You're playing at home. You're playing on the side event tables. Like, what the hell? What are we doing? What are y'all doing? What's wrong with y'all?
That's sad. I think that says more about whoever sent it than it does about,
Oh, certainly.
The game. But, yeah, that's upsetting.
Oh, and we ain't done with the why are you like this stories. We got another one.
Oh, no.
Which is called, Can I Click on the Cat?
Oh, jeez.
Oh, right. The cat garbage.
Because for $20, you can buy a magical little kitty cat that lives on your arena screen. And every time you click it, it changes color from one of the 5 colors of Magic. Isn't that cute? And you can spam your opponent all to hell with it. And to the point where you'll make them time out. Also, Queen Marchesa, long may you reign.
Oh my goodness.
You're insane. And we love you. And so MTG Arena... so one of the things, after they mentioned there's going to be a fix on this, and the support team is taking action against players who are clearly abusing the function. And Saffron Olive, friend of the show, Seth, said the fix would be great. I think maybe an announcement about the issue fix would help as a warning so people don't accidentally get banned not knowing there's a bug. And Arena was like, oh, no.
Oh, no, not a bug.
Not a bug. Only around 50 people were suspended for 5 days. Those that were suspended had clicked the cat over 1,000 times.
Jesus.
150 times plus per minute through the entire match over multiple matches. You should be ashamed of yourself, quite frankly. For real. What's wrong with y'all?
That is ridiculous and hilarious. And if you figured that out and then decided to exploit that, you should be suspended. However, they should probably put something in the back end of the system to prevent you from being able to click the cat that many times.
Right.
Like, this shouldn't even be an option.
Right. All you have to do is limit the number of times it can change color or whatever, or react to your click, and then doesn't that kind of fix it? I guess?
They're keeping track of how many cat clicks we got, everybody.
It's true.
Oh, boy.
They're cat click trackers.
Big Arena is everywhere.
As for what it's worth, as it should be. If Wizards is not literally keeping track of everything you do in that program, then they're doing it poorly.
Kudos to Aaron. During my sentence, I said, put something in the back end, and she didn't start laughing like a small child.
I was.
You had to run it back, didn't you, buddy?
I did. I had to make sure she heard it.
She heard it.
I also kept my cool during the whole cat thing.
It's true.
If you're murdering the cat, don't do that. Not in front of everybody. Keep
Murder
that.
this cat.
This is the regular show. We can't. There are children present.
It's too much. It's too much. We're gonna keep moving. Well, look. Someone noticed that the MCQs have been removed from the Magic Fest Atlanta. This would have been the first one to feed the first Mythic Championship of 2019. Oh God! Like we needed to try to read more tea leaves on what in the hell Wizards is doing, which led to CFB Events announcing that because WotC has not yet announced their plans for 2020, we have decided not to open registration/scheduling for qualifying events. We still believe we'll have qualifying events. I'm glad you believe things, by the way. We still believe we'll have qualifying events at Magic Fest Atlanta and beyond, but we're waiting until WotC makes its announcement. Well, we're still waiting on what the hell an MPL is, guys. So we appreciate y'all climbing in the boat with us as to what in the hell is going on here.
Oh my God.
Because no one's really sure, and man, it's awkward.
Oof.
It's rough. All right. Let's see here. We are running short of time, but we'll cover, well, we talked about Grzegorz Kowalski being the only MPL player in Krakow, which kind of dealt with the GP thing.
Yeah.
Speaking of Krakow, I want to give a shout out to our friend Sodek, who is a pioneer in terms of modern dredge. He won the MCQ in Krakow with dredge, and he looked so happy, and he's amazing, and so you should follow him and you should support him, and he's a very sweet boy. So way to make the family proud, Sodek.
Very nice.
Yeah.
All right. So an interesting. This could almost be splash damage. I'm gonna go ahead and throw up splash damage because this actually kind of touches into the board game world. And I tried to look up as much information as I could. Essentially, there's a guy named Vincent Baker who has a game that he designed called Spell Slingers, and Hasbro was like, "Yo, dog, we got lawyers." And we really like that term, and we don't really want to let you use it at all.
Bless his heart.
So he has exhausted his money. He's acquired a great lawyer, and even willing to do it, I think, at an excellent rate. They said it's still expensive due to the nature of the task.
Yeah, of course.
There's certainly deadlines to meet at this point. And, this is like a guy's like homebrew stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like he hired a very professional artist, as it were. And, the game looks okay, but it also looks like, you kind of homebrewed it. And so there's this question of the giant corporation versus the little guy and how that's supposed to shake out.
Right. And to clarify, it's not like he's stealing the name, right?
No, he came up with it to start with and was using it.
Exactly.
And then was
contacted. So he's been dealing with this for a literal year at this point. Mm-hmm. So, it also doesn't matter if it's a homebrewed game. It shouldn't matter if it's a homebrewed game.
No, absolutely.
I don't know. I feel like we're missing some information. Like, if you hadn't mentioned anything about... So the actual GoFundMe page doesn't mention... So for a year, I've been in a legal battle who's been trying to take me my first published card game and forcing me to quit using it. I still feel like I don't have all the information. Like...
Well, you can. There's some information here on BoardGameGeek.com. I'm gonna go ahead and put that link in the chat. If you're listening to the podcast, you can search for Spell Slingers on Board Game Geek, and you'll see it show up. And again, this is a guy who has published it. I believe it looks like 2017 was a thing.
Okay.
And it's just trying to make his game right. And maybe he stumbled into something that Hasbro has trademark on. I don't know, honestly. And because there's not enough facts there. I feel like
that would have been at the top of the page. This would have been a cease and desist.
Yeah, right? So it wouldn't have been even a request at that point. It would just been, look, we own it. You don't. Yeah. GG. So we'll see how this goes. I thought it was super interesting as a result. But that said, go ahead and look at doing the giveaway. Let's go ahead and get some giveaway action. The polls are about to close in just 2 seconds. If you have not entered yet, exclamation mark
already
raffle.
About that time?
Already about that time, y'all.
Somebody who hasn't won before.
Yes.
That was my favorite moment from last week when you were like, no, they don't get to win.
No. You think is that nice for you? No, that's nice. No, that's nice for somebody else.
Sent me a picture of, I think it was the Miss World, or like someone who was Miss Colombia or Miss Venezuela, like Tiki.
So yeah, exclamation mark raffle in the chat if you haven't entered yet, everybody.
Absolutely. All right. He tried to trademark something in the chat here. He tried to trademark Spell Slingers with an S a month after Wizards. So
okay.
That's going to be a problem.
Yeah, that's tough.
It's all about timing when it comes to stuff like that, which is unfortunate. but we have about 15 seconds to go. Again here, let's see. Is there anything that we were looking at or we did not talk about? I don't believe so.
No. I know that there were some questions in chat about the thing that happened today. We talked about it, and you can go look up more information elsewhere. That is all we have to say about that.
All right. And as the pilot note, what's the time limit on winning then? Well, whatever the hell Aaron decides it is. Okay? if Aaron's like, no soup for you, well, soup don't go.
You can take it up with our manager.
All right. You can no longer enter the raffle. Let's go ahead and pick ourselves a winner here. Congratulations to Chris RD19.
Oh, he was just saying he hadn't won in a while. Congrats.
Nice.
Well, there you go, buddy. Congratulations. You know who to contact.
There you go.
Or does he?
Oh, I know, right? Is that okay, Aaron? Is that a good winner for you?
I don't know. He didn't die very much during our last raid, so I guess he can win.
Wow. All right, then. Well, congratulations, Chris. Please get
Normally he's standing in things.
Get Aaron that info of your CSI account and whatnot, and we will get you your gift certificate. And, of course, thanks to CoolStuffInc.com for sponsoring that giveaway, which is fantastic. We'll go ahead and move on here to the finisher. And after the finisher, we'll do our thanks, and then we'll do our raid, which is always fun.
Mm-hmm.
This week we here at Magic Mics, we premiered our Magic the Gathering Dungeons & Dragons crossover project, Mics and Magic, which is very fun. And we're excited to show you Chapter 2 next week for the continuing adventures of Gerbian, Clinkbottom, and Calamity Jane, where surely we will get into further hijinks. But it's a dangerous world out there, so with that in mind, what of Ravnica's many dangers do you definitely not want to see the next time we roll dice, Ruben?
Well, there's a lot to look out for in the 10th district, as you well know. There's rampaging ogres, there's terrible worms, and there's everybody's biggest nightmare, Azorius red tape. But beyond all of that, there's one thing that every Ravnican fears beyond all else. End of turn Sphinx's revelation.
No.
Even there, they know. They know what's up. Aaron?
Well, I'm a big fan of Ravnica, and Calamity Jane ain't afraid of no ghosts herself. But I do have one fear. Alone, late at night, by myself, and suddenly, from out of nowhere, turn to rest in peace. Nope. Did you see that guy on Twitter today? The Death and Taxes boy who's trying to get more followers of the Coil rest in peace? I almost blocked his ass.
I'm shocked you didn't actually.
I considered it, but he seems like a nice guy. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt.
I was going to say, did you just mute him, just for...
I considered it.
There's levels.
I haven't ruled it out yet.
Well, look, Gerb is a simple man, and if you want to hear my silly voice, show up on Tuesday. He sees an enemy, he lights it on fire. So with that in mind, Gerb has one fear that exists above all else: the seething pain, the searing sensation, the horrible damage that can only come from a well-placed Aaron Campbell insult. Take 1d4 sick burn damage, y'all. That's right. Yep. Plus your int and stuff. Yeah. I'm not 100%
we'll have
on
to.
that yet.
Yeah, exactly. Don't worry. Whenever you're like, "What do I do?" I'm just like, just add these numbers together. It's fine.
Just roll a d20, something. Figure it out. All right.
You are a very patient DM with us, and I appreciate it.
It's quite all right. Sometimes you have to babysit small children. That's fine.
I'm not small. He's the goblin.
I am small. Because I'm not small in real life, I can be super small. And
exactly.
I also love that the goblins are now Southern now. I think it's great.
Dungeons and Dragons is aspirational storytelling, where Evan gets to pretend to be small, and Aaron gets to pretend to be an actual Rakdos Firewheeler.
Yeah. Just absolutely fantastic. All right, so I'm not sure we got him in yesterday, but Martin Kaser resubbed for 15 months in a row.
Thank you.
Yo, apparently I also have this thing, he says. A Little Aloaf resubbed for 15 months in a row as well. Thank you so much. Chef DMMD resubbed for 9 months. There's that sub baby right there. Chessius resubbed for 3 months, not to mention throughout 10 awesome subs. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Magic Mike's luckiest viewer back for more, they say. Definitely the luckiest, and no soup was for you. but we love you. CCM White resub for 4 months. Thank you so much. Celtic Damon resub for 7 months. And I guess this is the Elish Norn of anniversaries. That's interesting.
Oh, okay.
This is great. Dankliest Nugs has resub for 9 months. Yes, that is a hell of a sub, baby. David A. Schultz has subscribed via Prime. Welcome to the channel. Hope you stick around. Shrengar has resubbed for 5 months with lots of hearts. Thank you so very much. And Queen Marchesa?
Once again, yeah.
Long
What has gotten into you, my friend? Thank you.
Well, thank you. That's all I can say.
Thank you so much.
I'm humbled and I appreciate you. Ruben, you want to take it for the bits?
Absolutely. In addition to all of our bits that we got yesterday during Mikes and Magic, which, by the way, if you donate during Mikes and Magic bits or give donations, you can give gifts to Gerb.
We got horsies.
Right. So they were gifted ponies yesterday. Gerb has a bomb that he's yet to use. I believe Jane still has 2 of her 3 bags of ball bearings left. So there's a lot of stuff that you can buy for people, in addition to things like re-rolls.
Yeah.
And then, so thank you to everybody who donated yesterday. And then today, Thunder Voice. Oh, well, actually, I should use a voice, shouldn't I?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there was the kindly old Yuffie was running the tavern at the end there. So
yes.
So Thunder Voice 1 has given us 100 bits. Mr. Lubu Fu gave us 15 bits. Thank you there, Sonny. Smell Cows 200 bits is very nice. I appreciate the cheering. Eternally Tribal gave us 500 bits. Shame MTG 69 bits. Nice. If I can keep scrolling up here.
If I close my eyes, I hear Mrs. Doubtfire.
And then, of course, at the very top of the pile, we've got, let me see if I'm counting these zeros correctly, 23,000 bits from Queen Marchesa.
Wow. Goodness gracious, that is a lot. Long may she reign. Thank you so very much, of course, as always.
And thank you to everybody for donating. It's greatly appreciated.
Yeah, you guys are terrific. So we're gonna go here. Oh, all right, it shows the right thing. All right, cool. I'm going to hit the raid button and then go through our finals here. So I hit the raid button because that like preps the raid, and then we'll do our thing, and then we'll do the raid.
Cool.
Yeah. Cool. Raid button has been struck.
Figured out raid science.
Cyrus! I love Cyrus.
Yeah, it seems like Cyrus...
He's like me, but with Storm, and he's good. So.
Right. Cyrus Corbin Gill is going to be who we raid. And yeah, enjoy.
Absolutely. All right. So that ends another live episode of Magic Mike's. Thanks for joining us here to discuss all things Magic. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for all of the bits. And tune into Mike's and Magic. We're having so much fun.
Yes. Thank you, Ruben.
Thank you. If you're at Comic-Con and manage to run into me, or you can tag me on Twitter, come say hi.
Absolutely. Move here to our final slide. I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsor, CardHoarder.com, my co-host, Aaron Campbell and Ruben Bressler, you guys for watching or listening. I hope you support us at patreon.com/magicmikes. Please follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe to everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us online on our Discord, twitch.tv at Magic Mikes, on Twitter at Magic Mikes Cast, our Magic Mikes subreddit, and like the Magic Mikes page on Facebook. Talk to us privately at magicmikespodcast@gmail.com. Follow the audio-only podcast at magicmikespodcast.libsyn.com, or find us on iTunes and Spotify. Or join us here next week, same time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mikes. Good night, everybody.